Have you ever wondered how big of a role your room has in your life? Second to school, we spend the most time in our rooms. We do our homework there, we procrastinate doing our homework there, we binge movies, we talk to our friends, listen to music, and so much more. For many of us, our rooms are our safe spaces, and we take the time to decorate it like so. If I walk into your room today, I'll likely see your passions and hobbies on display. Perhaps you have art pieces lining the wall, or a bookshelf bursting with books, or a closet filled with workout clothes, or a decked out computer where all your coding projects and video games are stored. No two rooms are alike because no two humans are alike. And yet, even though we spend so much time in our rooms, they get messy, fast. Perhaps you still have a pile of clothes by your bedside, waiting to get into a laundry hamper, or books that are out of their bookshelves and waiting to go back home, or a junk drawer that you let no one open, or a closet that looks more like a DIY obstacle course than a place to actually store your clothes in. Our three basic human needs are food, water, and shelter. Yet how does that shelter get messy so fast? Why is it that when we try to clean our rooms, the mess still keeps crawling back a few days later? And how do we fix it? It's a complicated question, and popular culture has tried to answer it in two main ways: minimalism and the KonMari method. Minimalism is a method about throwing things away little by little until you achieve a simple yet content lifestyle. When we talk about wanting to have a minimalist home, we pull up pictures of the same old white and black homes. Yes, these homes do offer a nice idea of what our rooms can look like, but the truth is, that version of minimalism simply doesn't cut it for most of us, because it doesn't quite capture the uniqueness each and every one of us carries. And yet, that minimalism is what we see the most on the internet. And we can't help but feel discouraged that this clean, spotless, empty version of what we are told can be achievable actually seems quite impossible. But there's a second solution to the mess in our rooms, which is not minimalism. It's called the KonMari method. Created by Japanese organizer Marie Kondo, the KonMari method is a life-changing tidying process where you tidy your room in categories, only keeping the items that bring you joy. You only have to go through the method once, and this method promises a permanently tidy room afterwards. With the KonMari method and minimalism, they are both solutions to the mess and the clutter in our rooms, but they differ significantly in approach and outcome. In my experience, minimalism tends not to be the answer because it involves taking our rich space and turning it into something more plain and impersonal. Yet, with the KonMari method, yes, the KonMari method's goal is for you to have an organized room, but its main goal, its main focus, is for you to have more space so you can build a life that you value, free from the clutter and the chaos. Its focus is your passions. With minimalism, which's goal is for you to throw things away little by little, the KonMari method's goal is worded a little bit differently. The KonMari method's goal is for you to actively choose the items that bring you joy. This language shift of actively choosing what to keep versus what can I throw away shifts to the KonMari method into something more positive. Framing our attitude towards the KonMari method as something that is possible, that is achievable, versus something that is drab and boring. And this language shift of actively choosing versus what can I throw away is just one of the many things that makes the KonMari method so magical. I mean, this method can change your life, and it's not all just about organizing. By choosing what I want and what brings me joy, I have become more confident in my ability to choose what I need and what I simply want. So now, if I'm tempted to buy something, I can confidently tell the difference between something that I just want on a whim versus something that I know that I will cherish and value for a long time. And it is this skill that has prevented my room from relapsing back into a mess and has kept my room having more or less the same amount of items these past few years. But beyond this, the KonMari method can teach you lifelong lessons. And the biggest lesson that I've learned is the skill of learning to let go by knowing what sparks joy. But how does a method teach me that skill? Well, the KonMari method teaches us to keep what brings us happiness. The only criteria for knowing what to keep is to ask yourself, does this spark joy when you pick up an item? That term might sound vague. I know, spark joy, what does that even mean? But think of it like this. It's when you pick up your most prized possession. For me, one of my favorite things is a book called The Thursday Murder Club. It's a book about a bunch of senior citizens who solve murders. It's chaotic, it's fun, but when I hold it in my hands, I feel this warm sense of happiness. I can feel the start of a smile, and the book feels a little bit lighter from the comfort that I get from it. Think about a possession that makes you feel that feeling. Perhaps it's an old book, an old t-shirt, an old photo album, or perhaps a stuffed animal. But when you hold that possession, that feeling that you get is a spark joy that I'm talking about. And remember how I said the KonMari method is magical? Well, this method aims for your entire room to be only filled with the items that make you feel that feeling. Now the first part, learning to let go. Learning to let go starts with knowing what brings joy. And knowing what that can feel like is a tough skill. That's why the KonMari method teaches us that skill gradually. We tidy first our clothes, the least emotion-y of items, and then we move on to our books, papers, mementos, and then we reach the final boss battle of our sentimental items. But by the time that we reach that final boss battle, you'll be a pro at deciphering what that feeling of spark joy is and not is for you. It'll become instinctual. And you can't just speed run this process either. You can't just stick your head into your closet and just declare that, yes, I'm happy with all of this. That's not how that works. You can't just decide that everything in your room brings you joy without processing each item. You have to quite literally hold each item and ask yourself that question. If you boil it down, the KonMari method is picking up an item, asking yourself, does this spark joy? And if the answer is yes, put it away. Pick up another item, and repeat this process over and over and over again for each and every single item in your room. If the answer is no, discard the item that you're holding. Discard that item with a sense of gratitude. Because that item did serve you once, but now as it no longer brings you joy, it deserves to go to a different place. Perhaps that place is a donation pile or the trash can. But just know it's okay and completely expected that not every single thing in your room will make you feel that feeling. But just realize, by taking away the items that don't actually serve us, that action actually frees us. So by taking away, we are actually adding back value into our lives. By the end of the process, you'll probably ask yourself the question, does this spark joy, hundreds of times for each item that you have now kept and now have discarded? So back to the original question. How does the KonMari method actually teach me the skill of learning to let go by knowing what sparks joy? Well, since this method teaches us to keep what only brings us happiness, we shift our mindset towards tidying, towards a positive mindset. And we regard it with a sense of compelling, inspirational attitude towards tidying. And when we let go of the items that do not bring that sense of joy, we let go with a sense of gratitude without a sense of guilt. And doing this process hundreds of times ingrains in us that attitude of understanding that by letting go, that action does free us. That action doesn't take away anything from us, but actually only adds to our own self and our own identity. It adds back to who you are. After the process of keeping the items that have only brought you sense of joy, there's one last important step. You have to designate a spot for each type of item in your room, a kind of home for each thing, if you will. For example, once you have narrowed down your clump of pens to only the ones that bring you a sense of joy, put all of your pens in one place. That is the home for them. So if you take one out, you must put it back. That is its home. By doing this, we actually prevent the mess from coming back. It does sound a little crazy that by assigning a specific spot for each type of item in a room actually prevents the mess from coming back, but it's all a matter of mindset towards your possessions. I mean, after all, our stuff helps us, right? I can't walk outside without a shirt on, I can't write a letter without a pen, and I can't go to school without my shoes on, so it's only right that we put away the things that serve us back in its rightful place. It's kind of like we're respecting our items. It's a mental commitment. But actually, the whole KonMari method is one big commitment. But it's a commitment that can fundamentally change the course of your life. And it doesn't even cost a dime. You can start by setting a vision for how you want your room to look like. How do you want your daily routine and your future life to tie into the room that you want? By setting this inspirational vision, we actually strengthen our commitment to the tidying process. And this is a vision that you can start today. You can pick up your first item and ask yourself, does this spark joy tomorrow? Tidy for 30 minutes every single day. Perhaps you spend a few hours over the weekend. For me, this process from start to finish took about 6 months. But don't let that scare you away. In these few months, I tidied a lot on some days, and some days I just didn't feel like it. But those ups and downs are normal, because by the end of this process, after I've chosen all the items that bring me joy and assigned them as home, my room has never resorted to mess back again. Yes, I do have to clean the dirt and the hair that comes up, but my room is tidied and no longer gets in that big mess. And as I have less stuff than I did before, my room is surrounded with items that only bring me a sense of joy. My room is a reflection of my identities and passions. And yes, as I grow, my passions will change and what I enjoy shifts, but the question of does this spark joy will always stay there. So even when I grow and even when my passions change, the possessions in my room will shift as who I am changes. After we do the KonMari method, our rooms will continuously and endlessly display our passions. In a way, our rooms can show us a little bit of who we are. I, for one, still do not know what my dream career will be. I am still young, but that being said, I know that the KonMari method has fundamentally changed the course of my life. My room is tidy and no longer gets in a mess. My room is a reflection of my passions and my identity, and my space makes me happy. I can spend my time and energy pouring into my most brilliant passions and dreams. And this reality can extend to you too. Dare to embrace the life-changing magic of the KonMari method and transform your space into one that makes you feel truly alive. Take the first step today. Your journey to a more purposeful and joyful life starts now. Thank you.